so sad that I couldn't complete my blanket because I ran out of 2 colors. I went to my local Joann's to see if they had what I needed. They were also out, so I had to order online. Now I just have to wait for my yarn to arrive. Hopefully I'll be able to complete my blanket soon.
Beginner's tip: buy all the yarn you need at the same time because you don't know if it'll be discontinued.
Grappling with prophecies they couldn't understand. Do you understand?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't really understand.
I just finished December on my temperature blanket, which means it's officially finished. I started knitting this blanket on January 1st, 2021, and I knit a row every single day with a color that corresponded to the highest perceived temperature of that day every single day for the entire year, and I just finished it. This is what the month of December looked like, and this is my color chart that I used. And this is the year from January. All the way to December. I had no idea how big this blanket was gonna turn out. I have said that a million times. I didn't follow a pattern. I think I did 300 stitches across, 350. It's a garter stitch. I used 5mm needles. This is just the longest size I could find on Amazon. And I did 2 rows for every day. And for anybody that doesn't knit, I did 2 rows because if I only did one, the whole blanket would look like this and you wouldn't get the clean lines. And if you want to know what colors I used, my most recent update has everything broken down. I just weighed the blanket. It's 5.1 pounds. I used a lot of different brands of yarn, but if we're judging by the brand that I used the most, that was about 18 skeins. They were 4.5 ounces per skein, and then the biggest skein, the brand with the biggest skein I used was 7 ounces, so that would be about 11 of that brand. I had a ton of yarn left over, so I made all of my friends' temperature blanket colored beanies for Christmas. Here is the bird's eye view of the blanket. It is enormous. It's about 79 inches wide, so like 6.5 feet. And it's about 98 inches long. It looks a lot longer when I hold it up because the weight pulls it down. This blanket is not perfect. The edges are really rough. It's hard to say why. I think it's because I used so many different brands of yarn and some of them are a little bit like stretchier, if that makes sense. They have a little bit more give. So that's my 2021 blanket. It took about 182 hours to make, about 30 minutes every day, and now it's done. If you missed it the first time and want to see me do another one, welcome to 2022.
All these crocheters are making these gorgeous, well thought out temperature blankets that are really beautiful, and I'm over here making the ugliest blanket of all time out of my scraps. It's a waffle stitch, and I'm just adding whatever color I come across in my pile. Follow along for fun.
All right, progress update on the campfire blanket. I finished making the base part and I've been weaving in the chains for this brown color. I feel so validated in choosing to remake this entire blanket as opposed to just using my notes from previous makes. This is the largest version of the blanket I've ever made, and the thing is, the chains are always a little bit bigger than the actual blanket. But the thing is, you don't know how much. You kind of have to dial it in. So I figured out how long the chains need to be, and now comes the fun part of weaving them in. This part isn't hard, but it can be tedious, especially if you don't sew cleanly around the stitches and then you wind up going through the ply and then it gets stuck, and boy, that's just no fun. So yeah, this is one side, just the brown color, and now I'm going to start on the gray color chains that are going to go in between. It really helps give the blanket a great texture. And then in case you thought this blanket was going to be done, oh no, we're going to have to do the other end of the blanket. But honestly, it's so worth it. It looks great.
Last week I decided I was going to teach myself how to crochet, but instead of starting small, I decided, hey, I'm going to make a whole blanket. Here's an update. I made one square. The only thing about this is I thought it was going to be bigger. It's not. It's about the size of a coaster. So now I have to make 70 more, I think. And this took me 4 days. But I'm having a great time. Truly. Truly.
I just finished October on my temperature blanket. Oh my god.
This is my color chart, and this is the month of October.
This thing is so big, when I'm working on it, both of my parents can fit underneath it when we watch TV.
And it takes me about 15 minutes to get across, so it takes about 30 minutes to add a full day to the blanket. I probably won't be doing this again for 2022 because I don't need 2 enormous blankets. But if I did do this again, I wish I had created a spreadsheet so that I could keep track of how many skeins I used of each color, so that I knew just how much I spent on it and how many feet or yards of yarn I used. At this point, I would estimate I have to have spent at least $200 making this. So if you're gonna do one for 2022, I would start buying yarn now because you need more than you think.
Hey everyone! Last week I posted a TikTok comparing my first and second big crochet projects, which were both blankets. This is my first one. It got a ton of views, so I wanted to make this TikTok about 5 things that I learned while crocheting my first big project. I hadn't crocheted a ton before, so the first thing that I learned is hook size matters. The yarn I was using was a weight 5 and it called for an 8mm hook, and at the time the biggest crochet hook I owned was a 6mm hook, so I just used a 6mm hook instead of getting an 8mm hook, which means that the tension of my stitches was really tight because the hook was really small. And that is why I call it wonky. That's why I said that my first blanket is a little bit wonky because the tension is off. So the second thing that I learned while crocheting my blanket was about blocking. I didn't know what blocking was before, but blocking is basically where you get your project, in this case square, wet, and then you pin it down and you let it dry, and it kind of helps hold its shape. This one was blocked, but again, I was using the wrong hook size, so that's why you can't really tell. There's other ways you can block as well, but that's just one way and what I used for this project. The third thing that I learned was that there's lots of different ways you can join granny squares. For this project, I used the invisible stitch. I've also showed how to do that on my TikTok, but I actually prefer joining with single crochet, and different joining methods give different looks, so definitely look into joining methods and try them out before you do a whole project if you want to see how they look and feel different. Number 4 is about borders. So you can see that I was kind of going for a checkerboard pattern with this blanket, and then I have green squares along the border. And if I put more thought into the border, I would have not done the green squares around the border and just made a green border. And number 5 is about time. It takes a long time to make a blanket, so don't underestimate the time it's going to take you to make a blanket. If you're making a blanket, it's definitely worth it if it's something that you enjoy and you have fun doing. So I just want to say thank you for all the views and comments and love that TikTok got. I also want to say that even though I say my first blanket is wonky, I do still love my first project. And I hope that even if your first projects turn out wonky or not the way you hope, you can still love them too. And also, since that video was posted, I reached 5,000 followers, so thank you for that too.
My intention was to demonstrate how to crochet using these huge hooks, but after 2 whole attempts, you can see that I get frustrated, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I don't need the hook and I can just do this faster with my fingers. As it turned out, creating the chain was really easy. Just go down, pinch it, pull it through 26 times. And then I flipped my work. I was a little bit more concerned about making a single crochet. To make a single crochet, you dive down, you pull up 1, you've got 2 chains on the hook, you yarn over, and you pull through. Well, awesome concept, and it's working great with my fingers. And this throw worked together in 2 episodes of I don't remember what, but what does that mean for you? So let me show you on an actual hook what I'm doing. This is a single crochet. You dive down below the V's, pick up some yarn, so you've got 2 chains on the hook, and then you yarn over and pull through. Again, we're going to dive down below the V's, get it, pull up, got 2 on the hook, yarn over, pull through. So, okay, let's try that on the chunky yarn. Dive down, pull up, 2 chains on the hook. No need to yarn over, just pull through. Again, dive down below the V's, pull up some yarn, you got 2 chains on your fingers, and then just go get it and pull through. Again, dive down below the V's, pull up, 2 chains on the hook, pull through. Dive down, and here it is sped up. Okay, but now when you turn your work, let's make sure you go into the right chain below. You might be tempted to go into the second one, right? Because it looks like you already have one with that first one, but you don't. That'll get your final project all wonky. So you don't want to do that. It's always below the V's. And when you turn your work, you're going right underneath the chain that your fingers are in. So right by my hand, I'm going to dive down, go get it, pull up, 2 chains on the hook, and then now just go get some more yarn because you can't really yarn over, right? So here we go again. Dive down, pull up, 2 on the hook or the finger, go get it, pull through. Again, dive down, pull up, go get it. And I did this over and over, and it worked out great. I know you can make this one too. It's super, super simple. Flip your work, and now here's your quiz. Where do you go? That one? Nope. The first one. So my finished project is super chunky, really luxurious. I put it on the couch in my bedroom, and here's me not even pretending to take a nap.
I just finished the last week of my temperature blanket. For this blanket, I'm crocheting 1 row for each day of the year and using the average temperature of that day in this color chart to figure out which color to crochet with. We had some green days at the beginning of this week and then finished up the year with a few rows of blue. It has definitely been bittersweet working on the last few rows this week, and I don't think that it's sink in yet that the blanket is really done. Thank you so much to everyone who has been following along on this journey. Your encouraging comments have really helped to keep me motivated to keep going all the way to the end. You guys are truly the best. And this is what the blanket looks like. Next, I'll be adding in a brown border to finish it up.
Well, we finished the first roll. And I can't decide if I should do yellow and start over so it's almost layered, or if we should go from the dark back to the light. What are your guys' suggestions?
This is how to crochet the blanket stitch, the quick version for my more advanced crocheters that just want to learn a new stitch. For those who like to crochet along with me, I will have the extended version where each row gets its own video posted right after this. For the beginning chain, we need multiples of 3. I'm using 24 for my swatch, and then I'm going to add 2 double crochet into the 3rd chain from the hook. Oh, I forgot to add, this is a really beginner friendly stitch. All you need to know is how to make the single crochet and the double crochet, and you're good to go. After the 2nd double crochet, we're going to skip 2 chains, and then we're going to add a single crochet and 2 double crochet all into the same stitch. Now, if you're working into the top loop only, it is going to give you a little bit of a hole. If you don't like this gap, you can work into the top loop and the back bump, or you can work into 2 loops essentially, and that'll minimize the gap. But after this, we're going to skip 2 chains and then add a single crochet and 2 double crochet into the next, and we're going to repeat that all the way until the end. When you get to the end, you're going to skip 2 and then add just the single crochet into the very last chain, and that's it for row 1. My cat just gave me a mini heart attack. Woo! Okay, for row 2, we are going to chain 2. We're going to chain 2, turn our work, and then we're going to add 2 double crochet into the very first stitch. Normally we would skip the first stitch, but not for this one. The blanket stitch wants you to work into that first stitch. Then we're going to do the same thing we did in row 1. We're going to skip 2 stitches, add a single crochet and 2 double crochet all into the same stitch. This time it'll be on top of the previous single crochet where it starts to kind of divot down, and we're going to repeat that until the end of the row. And that is it for the blanket stitch. I'll show you what the end of row 2 looks like, but you just repeat that same row over and over and over again until you have the length that you're looking for. But for the end of the row, we're going to skip 2 and add just the single crochet into the very last stitch. If you like these kind of close-up stitch tutorials, be sure to like and follow. And if you have any questions about the stitch or would like to request one, you can leave that in the comments of any of my videos. Bye!
Happy day after Halloween and happy first day of November! I just finished crocheting the last day of October on my temperature blanket, and with 2 months left, I thought I'd take it out and give you all an update on how big it has gotten. It looks like my tension has changed slightly and the blanket is now 82 inches across. Last time I measured it, it was 81 inches across. I've done 304 rows and the blanket is 61 inches long. I'm predicting that it'll be around 73 inches long when it's all done. I just finished week 31 of my temperature blanket. For this blanket, I'm crocheting 1 row for each day of the year and using the average temperature of that day and this color chart to figure out which color to crochet with. We had beautiful weather this week. Almost every day was a little cool in the morning and sunny, and I'm absolutely loving the yellow and orange stripes that we got on this blanket. And this is what the blanket looks like so far. See you next week with another update.
So I keep seeing the 6-day starter blanket like all over TikTok. So I'm like, let's try to make a blanket in 6 days and see how that goes. I'm going to be using a random color generator to figure out which colors to do. The first color is going to be yellow. We have the first part of it done now. I gotta pick another color. It's lime green. Yay. I'm really tired, but this is all I got done for today.
I'd really like to show you what I've been working on. It's handmade like no other, it's not from Amazon. Instead of doing dishes or washing my laundry, I sneak away to craft more things that make me no money. When you buy from a small shop, you make one person's day. We do it as a passion, like tie-dye, paint, crochet. If you've gotten this far and it seems like we vibe, smash all of those buttons, don't forget to subscribe.